The storm arrives the way a drunken regiment rides into a border town. Loud, reckless, deaf to warnings. Rain barrels sideways across the high plains grass, drumming the sod roof of Ethan Calloway's ranch house until the shingles vibrate like overwhelmed fiddle strings. Inside, orange firelight flickers across walls blackened by years of smoke and silence. Ethan sits alone at the heavy oak table, weather-scarred hands coaxing new life into an old saddle cinch. 8 years he's spoken to no one but his horses and the wind never answers back. Lightning forks outside, turning every knot in the door into a ghostly eye. In that flash, Ethan glimpses the outline of the old family rocking chair. Sarah's chair, motionless now, condemned to the same exile that chains his own heart. The boom of thunder lags 3 breaths behind the flash, like artillery you feel before you hear. Ethan does not flinch. He is practiced at enduring noise that cannot hurt him. It's the memories that draw blood. Then comes the pounding, not the polite rap of a neighbor, nor the barked command of a cavalry patrol. This is a frantic, open-palmed hammering, as if whoever stands outside believes the door is the only thing pinning their soul to the living world. The sound rips through Ethan's chest, yanks him halfway to his feet before he even knows he's moving. Instinct sends his eyes to the rifle mounted above the hearth. Winchester 73, oiled, loaded, waiting. Habit glues his boots to the floor, reminds him what happened the last time strangers called in the night. A second volley of knocks, harder, faster, accompanied by voices swallowed and reshaped by wind. Not English, Apache. Ethan's jaw knots so tight his teeth squeal. The language drags him backward through time. Sarah's laughter, little Emma dancing in fresh snow, the smell of hickory smoke and cordite, the scream of an officer shouting pacification. 8 years of silence bought at the price of 2 graves beneath the cottonwood out back. The rifle pulls at him like gravity. 1 step, 2. Then an unexpected second sound threads through the storm. A baby's whimper, thin as spider silk but unmistakable. Ethan freezes. Rain hammers the shutters. Thunder bullies the horizon. Somewhere a child cries against the dark. And the knot inside Ethan loosens. Not much, just enough to let doubt seep in. Men with rifles rarely drag infants into ambushes. A woman's voice, English this time, words shaped by effort. "Please, sir, we ask only for shelter." The timbre is wrong for threats, wrong for seduction, wrong for anything but raw, naked need. Ethan lowers his hand from the rifle stock. The room seems to shrink around him, every heartbeat loud enough to trip his hearing. He could ignore them. Storms kill quickly out here. Morning would find nothing but mud and silence, and perhaps a story for the crows. But Sarah's voice pushes through memory. Kindness is the only thing that separates us from the beasts. Sarah had believed that, right up until the moment men in uniform kicked open this same door and proved beasts wore buttons too. The pounding stops, replaced by an exhausted scraping, a body sliding down the doorframe, surrendering to gravity. Rain splashes against the threshold. Ethan hears muffled sobs, a rustle of fabric, the clink of something metallic. Maybe a bracelet, maybe a shackle. He curses under his breath, crosses to the door, and presses his palm against the thick pine. Cold bleeds through the wood along with a tremor he first mistakes for thunder. It's not thunder, it's fear vibrating in the bodies on the other side. One breath, another. Ethan lifts the iron crossbar. Hinges moan as the door creeps open, just wide enough for the lantern light to spill out and the storm to shove in. 10 figures huddle on the porch, dresses soaked through, braids plastered to cheeks cut by wind-blown grit. The woman nearest the threshold straightens, chin lifted despite the blood seeping from a gash above her brow. "I am Lena Blackbird," she says, each syllable carved from stone. "We have run 3 days. Captain Clayton Reed hunts us. Give us 1 night and the storm may cover our trail." Lightning flares, Ethan counts instinctively. 1, 2, 3. Thunder rattles the rafters. Less than a mile then. He scans the line of faces. Girls barely grown, women weathered by desert sun, an elder with hair silver as frost, and in the youngest arms a bundle that squeaks against the cold. The elder meets his gaze, eyes dark and unblinking. They killed our husbands, she murmurs, voice both accusation and plea. They will kill us tomorrow if we stand outside your gate tonight. Ethan's throat clicks, but no words come. 8 years of solitude have rusted his manners. Instead, he steps back. The gesture is small, silent, yet enormous. Lena ushers her people inside. They slip past him like shadows, seeking warmth. As the last woman crosses the threshold, the child mewls, and Ethan sees its lips, blue as new bruises. He shoves the door shut, drops the iron bar, and only then realizes his hands are shaking. Water pools on the plank floor, steam coils where wet skirts brush the hearth's heat. The ranch house, built for one man's grief, feels suddenly microscopic, every corner claiming a heartbeat. Ethan retrieves blankets from a cedar chest without being asked. The elder accepts them with a nod that might once have been regal. Two of the younger women kneel by the fireplace, coaxing life into the coals with practiced ease. Within moments, flames crackle and shadows dance up the log walls. A lull falls, heavy with unasked questions. Ethan breaks it. Why just women? Where are your men? The words taste like gravel. Lena's jaw tightens. Buried in ash or chained in wagons behind Captain Reed. He calls it relocation. We call it theft of breath. Ethan turns away, ashamed of the part of him that still doubts. He pours coffee into tin cups, bitter, strong, scalding, and offers them around. Fingers so cold they shake except the heat. He feels rather than hears the collective exhale of 10 chests as warmth bleeds back into limbs. Outside, the storm slackens, rain shifting from bullets to needles to a hiss of drizzle. The quiet is worse than the noise. It leaves room for hoofbeats. Ethan crosses to the shuttered window, parts a slat with his knife tip. Depthless night stares back, but the hairs on his neck rise. Somewhere out there, men are lighting lanterns, saddling horses, trading jokes about tomorrow's trophies. They will come. Behind him, Lena speaks softly. We will be gone at first light if the trail is clear. You need not fight our war. Her politeness feels like a gift he cannot repay. He thinks of the graves under the cottonwood, the silence that never filled the hole Sarah left, the rifle still hanging above the mantel. He manages a dry laugh. Ma'am, this war found my door long before you did. Another flash of lightning reveals fleeting silhouettes beyond the far fence. Riders topping a ridge, scouting maybe, or merely impatient to deliver violence. Ethan lets the shutter fall closed. He draws a breath thick with wood smoke, fear, and a strange electric resolve he hasn't felt in almost a decade. You and your people take the bunks, he says, voice steady now. Storm cellars under the kitchen if you need it. I'll keep watch. Lena studies him a heartbeat longer, measuring steel with steel. Then she nods once, the kind of nod nations are built on, and turns to tend her wounded. Ethan lifts the Winchester from its hooks. The action snicks open, shines brass, locks shut. Outside, the drizzle stops altogether, leaving the night so still he can hear the baby breathing. Ethan Calloway positions himself by the door he swore he'd never open again, listening to wind slide toward silence, counting the seconds until hoofbeats break it. When they come, and they will come, he will be ready. And somewhere in the hush before the siege, a thought cuts through the murmured Apache prayers behind him. Kindness isn't what separates us from beasts. It's what forces them to show their teeth. The lantern sputters. Thunder growls one last warning beyond the hills. The knock that began this night has opened more than a door, and Ethan feels the world shifting on its hinges. Toward violence, yes, but also toward the faint, impossible shape of hope. The fire has burned past orange into the deep blue of half-spent coals when Ethan Calloway finishes his first circuit of the house. He counts bodies, 10 women, 1 infant, and himself, and calculates ammunition. 43 rifle rounds, 12 slugs for the coach gun, a half box of 45s for the Colt. Thunder rumbles farther away now, but every lull of wind is a blank page begging to be filled by hoofbeats. At the kitchen table, Lena Blackbird stitches a gash in her upper arm with horsehair thread, jaw set, eyes bright as mica. 2 younger women heat a branding iron in the embers. Not for cattle, Ethan realizes, but to cauterize a deeper wound below the elder's ribs. The iron sizzles. The cabin smells of burnt flesh and rain-damp wool. No one screams. Ethan sets a tin mug beside Lena. Coffee's cold, but it'll keep the world from tilting. She ties the final knot, bites the thread, and lifts the mug with her good hand. Cold is fine. We've lived off snowmelt 3 days. He nods toward the infant now sleeping in a flour sack cradle. That little one won't live off snowmelt. We have goat's milk powder in a pouch, if it wasn't lost crossing Pecos Gorge. In her voice he hears something rarer than fear. Calculation. These women are taking inventory, same as he is. An awkward hush settles. Ethan gestures toward the trapdoor beneath the stove. Storm cellar is lined with stone and dirt. You'll be safer below if shooting starts. Lena studies him, a hawk deciding whether the fence post is strong enough to land on. And you? Stand alone up here? Been doing that a while. She sets the cup down. Captain Reed will arrive before dawn. If he finds only you, you die for harboring fugitives. If he finds us hiding beneath your floor, we all die slow. Better we fight. The words hang like iron in humid air. Ethan feels the house tilt again, not from coffee, but from the truth. He has already chosen sides by lifting that crossbar. Silence has never protected him, and it won't start tonight. He crosses to a cedar chest in the corner, flips the lid, and removes a canvas roll tied with rawhide. Unfurling it across the table reveals tools of a former life. Chisels, fuses, small blocks of dynamite swaddled in waxed paper like tallow candles. 10 astonished eyes track every movement. Railroad company left me these when they blasted the irrigation cut, Ethan says. Dam's a half-mile uphill. A pound of powder removes a plug. Gravity does the rest. Flood would wash Reed's men clear to Dry Fork. Lena's brows draw tight. It would drown his prisoners too, my brother among them. Ethan hadn't known about prisoners. He notes the confession like a pin on a map, then rolls the dynamite closed. All right, he concedes. Different plan. He moves to the narrow door that opens onto his tack room. Inside, saddles hang like dormant bats. Beside them, a wooden rack holds surplus fence rails and lengths of rusty barbed wire. He retrieves the wire and 2 burlap sacks of long, iron caltrops, 4-point stars designed to cripple horses. Scatter these along the north approach, he says. You know horses. They'll veer where we leave gaps, funneling riders into kill lanes. The women exchange glances. Surprise first, then a spark of respect. One by one, they step close, claim handfuls of caltrops, tuck them into shawls as though collecting wild herbs. Ethan turns to the youngest, Mela, a girl no older than 15, whose hands still shake from exposure. You and... He gestures at the elder, silver-haired Ruth chasing clouds. Stay inside with the baby. If bullets punch through these walls, grab that trapdoor and drop. Ruth's voice creaks like rope under strain. I have woven funeral blankets for braver men than Reed. If death comes, I'll weave no more. Ethan almost smiles. The remark feels like something Sarah would have said. Outside, mist drifts over the yard, ghosting through corral rails. The moon, newly freed of storm clouds, silhouettes the mesquite grove, where Lena positions 2 warriors with bows. Silent, reusable, perfect for night. Another pair crawl belly down the muddy slope to set caltrops. Their movements are fox quiet, but Ethan tracks them by memory of every stump and stone. This land is an extension of his bones. He returns to the porch and tests the tension on his Winchester's lever. A soft step behind him draws his attention. Lena carrying a Sharps rifle she has taken from his gun rack without asking. She handles it like a familiar weight. You've shot one of those? Ethan asks. My father trained me on a Spencer before I was 12. Sharps kicks gentler. He offers her a cartridge belt. Winds out of the west, sight an inch low at 80 yards. Lightning flickers far off. Thunder murmurs like old men gossiping. The storm has become distance, yet Reed's absence feels closer. Every cricket that chirps is an imposter. Every cow's grunt might mask a bridle jingle. At the edge of the yard, Lena's scout raises a hand. Signal. Movement on the ridge. Ethan lifts his spyglass. Tiny orange pearls wink against the horizon. Cigar embers. Or maybe the sparks soldiers strike when lighting lanterns. Either way, Reed's vanguard is awake. Ethan lowers the glass. Less than 2 hours. Lena tightens the sharp strap across her shoulder. 2 hours to turn a ranch into a fortress. He hears the unasked question. Why help us? He answers anyway. Because Reed killed my family's laughter same way he killed your men's bodies. Different year, different uniforms, same sin. A coyote yips, a lonely high note that floats above the hush. Ethan tilts his head, listening for an echo. Coyotes hunt in pairs, but the call goes unanswered. Solitary. A sign Sarah once claimed that the land itself is holding its breath. Lena speaks barely above a whisper. When the shooting begins, Captain Reed will want the door intact. He likes to see faces before he breaks them. Ethan remembers another officer, another door, another dawn. Then we won't give him the door. He steps off the porch and kneels at the corner where 2 wagon ruts form a natural choke. With a spade, he digs 6 shallow pits, presses sticks of dynamite nose up, fuses twisted together like braided hair. A single yank will light all 6. He sprinkles dirt back, pats it smooth. From the porch, the ground looks innocent, almost inviting. As he works, the horizon flickers again. This time not lightning, but lamplight reflecting off polished brass. Hoofbeats carry across sodden earth, a dull drum roll urging the night toward violence. Ethan stands, mud clinging to his knees. He meets Lena's gaze. 2 hours just became 1. She nods, then melts into shadow, passing silent orders hand to hand until the cabin's yard becomes a tableau of poised intent. Warriors behind troughs, rifles braced on windowsills. Caltrop sacks emptied in devilish constellations. In the hush, Ethan reflects that the last time he prepared a kill zone, he wore blue and marched behind a flag. Tonight he wears mud and grief and something dangerously close to hope. A distant voice barks a command, another answers. Bits of metal clink, horses snort, leather squeaks. The siege has begun moving toward them, deliberate and hungry. Ethan's thumb brushes the fuse knot at his belt. One tug and the earth itself will speak for him. But not yet. Let Reed come close enough to smell the coffee cooling on the table he'll never sit at. Inside, the infant whimpers, a fragile reminder of stakes higher than revenge. Ethan tips his hat brim low, shoulders the Winchester, and steps into the shadow of the porch beam. He feels the night inhale, gathering breath for the scream of battle to come. The moon has slid behind a gauze of cloud when the yard finally wakes. 8 riders, slickers flapping, carbines ready, fan out like wolves around a campfire. Captain Clayton Reed, broad-shouldered in a tar-black duster, reins up at the gate. His voice cuts the mist. Calloway, hand over the squaws and nobody burns. Silence answers. From the porch shadow, Ethan tracks their positions by boot splash and bit jingle. The kill lane dynamite lies buried in soft mud, 5 paces ahead of Reed's horse. Close enough for martyrdom, not escape. Ethan's thumb toys with the fuse but holds. Closer, you bastard! Just one more step! Reed kicks the gate open himself, impatience rattling like spurs. Sergeant, on me. You 2, cover the rear. The detail obeys, oblivious to the caltrops glittering beneath pooled rain. First hoof clacks metal. The gelding screams, pitching its rider. Chaos blooms. Perfect, savage timing. Ethan yanks the fuse string. A hiss of sparks, then 6 fists of earth leap skyward, orange and deafening. Shrapnel and mud pepper Reed's men. The blast flips one trooper clean over the corral rail. In the rolling concussion, Lena Blackbird appears at Ethan's shoulder, Sharp's rifle barking flame. A bullet drills Reed's brim and steals his hat without scratching skin. Warning, not kill. The captain freezes, thunderstruck. Door bursts inward on Reed's next breath. Not from dynamite, but from Naomi Redfeather, the tallest Apache warrior, swinging Ethan's coach gun like a battering ram. 2 troopers stumble through the shattered frame. Naomi's double barrel speaks once, twice. Buckshot slams them flat before they fire around. Wood shards rain across the hearth. Reed recovers, draws his Colt, and charges the porch. Ethan meets him halfway, their shoulders collide, momentum carrying both men into the muddy churn left by the blast. They grapple, boots sliding, fists smashing. Reed's revolver skitters away. Ethan's knuckles split on the captain's jaw. For an instant, Reed's eyes flash recognition. This is the rancher whose family his brigade pacified years back. He grins, bloody and cruel. "Thought we finished you, Calloway." Ethan answers with his forehead. Reed reels, nose spurting. Before he can level another insult, Lena is there, silent, certain. Her knife kisses the captain's throat. "This," she whispers, "is for Sparrow Blackbird." One clean pull. Reed's arrogance pours into the mud, steaming. Gunfire still rattles near the barn. Ruth, chasing clouds, looses an arrow. The shaft thumps a trooper's shoulder, spinning him into Naomi's waiting blade. 3 soldiers remain, confused shapes beyond drifting powder smoke. Ethan shoulders his Winchester, fires once, shatters a lantern. The darkness swallows their line of sight. The surviving pair panic, vault the low fence, and spur south, hooves pounding a frantic beat toward the distant ridges. Sudden quiet. Rain returns as mist, weightless yet metallic on the tongue. 13 bodies lie scattered. 8 of Reed's, 2 horses, 3 chickens unlucky enough to roost by the fence. Lena wipes her blade on Reed's cloak, eyes burning with triumph and grief intertwined. "We're alive," she breathes. Ethan isn't listening. He watches the 2 fleeing silhouettes crest a hill, torches dwindling to fireflies. "They'll fetch Colonel Harlow's main camp," he mutters. 60 men if rumors are true. We bought maybe an hour." Inside, Mela peeks from the trapdoor, baby clutched to her chest. Naomi draws a curtain across the broken doorframe, but moonlight still spills through bullet holes like guilty lantern beams. Ethan stoops beside Reed's corpse, relieves it of a map tube. Inside, orders signed F. Harlow, 7th Cavalry, detailing prisoner transports and a rendezvous at dawn. He unrolls the parchment on the blood-slick porch plank. Prisoners, dozens, held in wagons south of Dry Fork. Lena's breath hitches. Her brother's name sits among the tallies. "We flood the valley," Ethan proposes, tapping a line where his dam straddles the arroyo. "Break the plug, turn it into a river. Wagons, horses, foot soldiers, they'll all wash out." Ruth frowns. "So will the prisoners. Chains sink faster than wagons." "Chains can be cut," Ethan insists, already calculating fuse lengths, water volume, margin of error. Dynamite is arithmetic. Guilt is harder math. They hurry up slope beneath ragged clouds. The dam looms, a rough earthen bulwark holding an acre lake black as spilled ink. Ethan wedges 2 charges where seepage has softened clay. He strikes a match, sets fuse ends smoldering. 90 seconds until judgment. From the valley floor, a sound rises. Not hoofbeats, not bugles. A baby's cry, thin, terrified, achingly human. It floats up the arroyo like a note carried on wet wind. Ethan's hands falter. Lena hears it too. Anguish flares in her eyes. "Reed brought a child?" Ethan asks. "Camp women," Lena answers, voice breaking. "Cooks, washers, they march with the soldiers." Fuse hisses lower, sparks nearing powder. Ethan's world narrows to 2 facts. Water kills indiscriminately, and somewhere below a stranger's infant weeps in the dark. Sarah would never forgive me. He drops to his knees, palms scrambling through slick mud, finds the burning cord, snuffs it between wet fingers. A breath, another. The fuse flares again, 2 inches upstream. Ruth stamps it out with a prayer. The dam stands. The water waits. Below, torchlights multiply. No longer 2, but a string of them, serpent long, pouring into the lower meadow. Colonel Harlow's Leviathan has arrived, and Ethan has surrendered the only weapon mighty enough to drown it. Lena catches his eye. No accusation there, only the relentless arithmetic of survival recalculating in real time. "We'll need another way," she says. Ethan nods, chest tight, rifle suddenly heavier. Moon slides free of cloud again, illuminating scores of helmet spikes descending the slope. Thunder is gone. In its place sits the low drum of organized vengeance. And somewhere inside that bright, crawling beast, a baby keeps crying, an uninvited metronome measuring the seconds before dawn and the blood yet to be spent. Morning hovers a heartbeat below the horizon, painting the clouds ash gray, when Colonel Franklin Harlow arrays his company across Callaway Mesa. 60 troopers, Spencer rifles gleaming, form a crescent that swallows what's left of Ethan's yard. Bugles keep silent. Harlow wants fear, not fanfare. At the crescent's midpoint sits a supply wagon draped in canvas. From inside drifts the unmistakable wail of the same baby, whose cry spared the valley from flood. Ethan, Lena, and the remaining Apache women crouch behind the corral's shattered rail, dawn dampening gunpowder and nerves alike. Naomi fingers a fresh bandage on her shoulder. Ruth whispers a prayer that sounds more like arithmetic, counting bullets, counting breaths. The ground where Reed fell has become a mud-slick altar, his body stripped of insignia, already carted away as proof of vengeance owed. Harlow's voice booms across the gap. "Calloway, Captain Reed exceeded orders. Surrender the fugitives and I'll see you compensated for your trouble." His tone resembles the clink of silver slid across a saloon table. Polite, poisoned. Ethan stands into view, rifle relaxed but not lowered. "Compensation won't buy back what Reed burned." "Then justice will," Harlow answers. He gestures. 2 wagons roll forward, canvas flaps lifted to reveal shackled Apache men. Faces smeared with trail dust stare out. Among them, Micah Blackbird, Lena's brother, a torn strip of her mother's quilt knotted around his wrist. Lena inhales sharply, rage and relief braided tight. Ethan feels the decision settle over the yard. They can't trade lives for lives. They must break the chain entire. He jogs to the porch, snags a coil of rusty barbed wire, and presses it into Lena's hands. "Trip lines," he whispers. "Tree-line to water trough. You two." He nods at Mela and Naomi. "Fine lamp oil. We'll turn this mud to fire if they push." While preparations hum, Ethan slips through the half-collapsed barn and out a back gate. Reed's men never noticed. A cut bank follows the arroyo into scrub dotted with chala and barrel cactus. Cover enough to crawl within spitting distance of Harlow's reserve line. The baby's cry guides him, tiny, relentless. He reaches the wagon as 2 sentries argue about coffee versus whiskey for courage. In their distraction, Ethan rises, clubs one with the Winchester stock, slams the other's jaw with a caltrop-studded boot. Both drop soundlessly. He peels back the canvas. A young woman in a torn calico dress, cheeks streaked by exhaustion. Her name, she chokes it out, is Clara Walsh Laundress, age 19. The infant in her arms blinks at Ethan, eyes wide as brass buttons. "I'm getting you clear," he breathes, "but when bullets fly, run east. Stay low, follow the dry creek." Clara nods, clutching the baby so tight its blanket squeaks. Ethan scans for tools, settles on the guard's dropped bayonet, and hacks the wagon's traces. With a grunt, he shoves and gravity rolls mother and child downslope into tall buffalo grass beyond the line of fire. Their escape is hidden by the milling of horses as troopers scramble to respond to sudden shouts, "Uprange." Lena's trip wire just claimed its first rider. Ethan ghosts back toward the ranch, but fate walks the same path wearing lieutenant's bars. Peter Harlow, the colonel's son, skirts the perimeter on a gray Colt, intent on flanking the cabin. He nearly reins over Ethan before recognition dawns in both sets of eyes. Peter's hand fumbles for his sidearm. Ethan's tackles him off the saddle. They crash among desert willow, scrabbling for leverage. The Colt bolts. Ethan gains the pistol first, but an idea blindsides him harder than any blow. A hostage worth an army. He flips Peter face down, knots wrists with the lieutenant's own cravat, and marches him at gunpoint toward the cabin. Bullets hiss overhead, drawn by Naomi's first volley from the porch, but the 2 men reach safety alive. Inside, Lena's warriors have overturned tables into a breastwork. Rifle smoke coils beneath the rafters like funeral incense. Peter's arrival sucks silence into the room. Lena steps forward, knife poised. "His father burned Clearwater Village," she says, voice flat. "Let the son answer." Ethan plants his rifle muzzle on Peter's collarbone. "Better use a live. Colonel won't torch what carries his blood." Peter, trembling, whispers, "I never saw the orders. Reed handled everything." A convenient lie, but behind his terror, Ethan senses bewilderment too raw to fake. Outside, Harlow's command bellows again. "Cease fire, Calloway, parley." Bullets pause, rain dripping in their absence. Ethan drags Peter onto the porch, knife at the boy's throat. One volley from your line, Ethan shouts, and your air bleeds out on your paperwork. For the first time that morning, Colonel Harlow hesitates. Hesitation crawls down the ranks like fever. Rifles lower, whispers multiply. The entire siege tilts on the fragile hinge of paternal fear. Lena leans close to Ethan. Fear buys seconds. We need minutes. Ethan scans the horizon and spots a dust plume westward, sunlight catching on something neither Union blue nor cavalry yellow. 3 riders, star badges flashing, federal marshals. Reed's massacres finally raised enough stink in Santa Fe to send law. Ethan's pulse hammers hope. Hold the line. Law's riding in. How long? 15 minutes if their horses don't founder. Musket smoke drifts, curling into shapes like crooked fingers beckoning fate. On the porch, Lieutenant Harlow swallows, tasting truth for the first time. Inside, Mela hums to the infant, Clara's child safe beneath the cellar hatch, with a lullaby that might also be a battle hymn. Outside, 60 rifles wait for a trigger word that may never come. Ethan presses the knife's flat edge against Peter's throat, not to cut, but to remind, and raises his voice so every man on the mesa hears, Colonel, justice is coming whether you shoot or stand down. Only question is whether you face it in chains or under 6 feet of clay. Wind sifts the silence. Somewhere a meadowlark offers the morning's first song, fragile, defiant, impossible. 59 troopers shift uneasily. 1 colonel mutters a curse. 3 marshals race the sun. And on a blood-smeared porch, a rancher who once begged the world to forget him grips the balance of an entire war with one trembling blade. The first marshal reaches the rise like justice cast in iron. Long coat snapping, badge catching sunrise. 2 others flank him, rifles leveled but muzzles down. Authority, not assault. Colonel Harlow's men part instinctively, uncertain which order outranks fear. Dust settles. The mesa inhales. Marshal Silas Grant cups his hands. This camp is under federal jurisdiction. Stand to with empty rifles or face treason charges. His drawl is calm, the kind that makes dangerous men rethink the word dangerous. Harlow's reply is a growl. You're late, Marshal. Army matter here. Grant's horse sidesteps, indifferent. Murder of non-combatants is never an Army matter. Bring your ledger, Colonel. You'll want receipts. Troopers exchange looks, blue coats shifting like corn before wind. Ethan tightens the blade on Peter's throat just enough to raise a white line. Your move, Colonel. Harlow's facade cracks, not shatter, but fissure. He lifts one gauntlet in cautious surrender. Stand down. The command travels the crescent. Hammers ease, rifle stocks dip. 60 shoulders exhale the breath war had been holding. Lena's bowstring relaxes. Naomi pins fresh bandage tape, finally allowing pain to register. Ruth weeps silently. Grief for the dead, relief for the living, while Mela's lullaby softens below the floorboards, the baby now gurgling more than crying. Marshal Grant dismounts, boots squelching in Reed's ruined kill lane. He steps onto the porch, gaze briefly sweeping the blood-glossed boards, the knife, the trembling lieutenant. Mr. Calloway, ma'am, he nods to Lena. Mind if I borrow your guest? Ethan holsters the pistol and hands over Peter, wrists still bound. The young man does not fight. His eyes, once frightened, now carry something heavier. Knowledge. Grant removes a folded warrant. Lieutenant Franklin P. Harlow, alias Jr., you're hereby detained as material witness to atrocities committed under Captain Clayton Reed. Peter's voice quavers. I'll testify. All of it. Across the yard, Colonel Harlow stiffens, color draining. You don't know what you're saying, boy. I saw the burned villages, Father. Peter's stare never wavers. Reed said we were heroes. Heroes don't chain infants. The words strike harder than bullets. Colonel Harlow lowers his saber, the gesture both surrender and apology he'll never voice. Marshal deputies cuff him while Grant recites charges. Conspiracy, murder, falsifying reports, unlawful imprisonment. Each syllable sounds like a nail driven into a rotten scaffold. Freed troopers shuffle, some tossing unit pins into the mud, silent disavowals. Others rush to wagons, cutting shackles from Apache prisoners whose fettered arms rise to greet dawn. Among them, Micah Blackbird stumbles forward. Lena sprints, catches her brother in an embrace that condenses 3 days of terror into a single sob. Ethan watches, chest hollow with vicarious relief, but the ranch around him sprawls broken. Splintered door, pulverized fence, ragged shell craters where his garden once grew cilantro for Sarah's stew. Smoke from spent black powder still lingers, unable to decide whether it's funeral incense or birth cry. Marshall Grant approaches. "You've bought yourself a legend, Calloway. Got plans for the next chapter?" Ethan toes Reed's abandoned hat, rain-soaked brim flopping like a dead bird. "Yeah, fix what can be fixed, bury what can't." He glances at Clara Walsh, now stepping from buffalo grass, infant swaddled and safe. "Lady and her child need escort to Denver. Trail's mean for one wagon." Grant smiles sideways. "Law outpost at Fort Rayton could use a quiet man who knows dynamite maths. Pays poor, but cause is clean." Ethan considers the empty horizon, feels the pull of westward sun like a rope out of exile. "I'll see Clara to Denver. After that, maybe Fort Rayton." He pauses. "If the cause stays clean." Grant tips his brim. Fair bargain. Later, full dawn. Troopers, those still wearing sabers, stack arms for inspection under Grant's deputies. Apache prisoners trade chains for blankets. Lena's warriors gather their fallen, 2 bodies wrapped in cedar-scented cloaks laid upon travois fashioned from Ethan's fence posts. Micah clasps Ethan's forearm. "Your home paid blood for ours. Your debt is done." "Debt's a circle," Ethan replies. "You break it by walking away, not by counting beads." He meets Lena's gaze. Gratitude and grief share equal claim in her eyes. Naomi returns the coach gun, stock wiped clean. "This belonged to your wife?" Ethan nods. Naomi presses the weapon back into his hands. "Then it helped finish the story that killed her. Let it guard life now, not avenge death." The remark lodges deep, an instruction Sarah would endorse. By noon, the mesa is almost quiet. Marshal wagons creak south with Colonel Harlow shackled beside Reed's shrouded coffin. Northbound, Lena's party rides toward Red Mesa, Micah leaning on his sister, yet smiling for the first time. East, freed troopers tramp, stripped of rank, toward Fort Sumner for processing. And west drifts a lone wagon. Clara at the reins, Ethan walking flank, Winchester slung low, a baby's sleepy gurgle puncturing the hush. At the property's edge stands the cottonwood, whose roots cradle Sarah and Emma. Ethan touches the trunk. "Storm's past, darlin'. I'm riding out a while." Wind rustles the leaves, no answer, yet no protest. He climbs onto the wagon seat. Clara clicks her tongue, mules lurch forward, and the ranch recedes. Bullet-chewed walls, broken corral, but also new fence posts already hammered upright by Micah's men before departure. A promise that land can heal if given honest hands. As wheels groan into rhythm, Clara glances sideways. "How far to Denver, Mr. Calloway?" "Far enough for the baby to learn the road song," he says, then whistles a fragment Sarah once hummed while sewing at dusk. The tune floats on crisp morning air, mingling with meadowlark trills, carrying forward, never back. Behind them the sun climbs, illuminating tracks of a night where a hermit, 10 warriors, and a crying child rewrote the cost of mercy. Ahead lies open country, and in Ethan's chest something unfamiliar but sturdy begins to root. Hope, watered by blood, yet reaching for light. One more mile, then another. A new story already unfolding with every turn of the wheel.